Let's hear from the goal scorer, Kieran Tierney, downstairs with Jeff Brazier.
Job done through to the last 16. How nervy was that in the last 30?
Yeah, we wanted to kind of get the game done by 60, 70 minutes, score a couple of goals, but we never done that. But I thought we seen the game out well. They put on a lot of pressure on us, but we dealt with it quite good.
Everyone's worried about players getting injured, obviously, with the squad rotation the way it is. You took a knock at the end. Could you give us a little update with that?
All good, no problem, just a sore on the ankle. Might be a bit swollen, but it's fine.
Was that very different, Zurich, from the one you faced in match day 1? What did you need to show as a team in the last 30 to get through that second half in particular?
We just had to show fight and hunger because they came here with so much of that. We knew they would. The last couple of results have been good, so they're growing in confidence as well. And we knew it was going to be tough the way they play, the man-to-man way they play. But I think we dealt quite well. Just a pity we never scored a couple more.
I mean, you know, scoring a few more, it seems like it can be a theme at sometimes where you 1-0 up quite early, but that second goal doesn't necessarily come. Why do you think you struggle with a second goal at times?
It's hard to say. We won 5-0 3 days ago, so it's not as if it's something that happens all the time. Teams win 1-0, and as long as you get the clean sheet, we're confident we'll get a chance and score.
Big game for you tonight, full 90. You're battling with 2 or 3 other players for that left-back spot. How did you think you did? And is there any really frustration that you're not getting as many minutes as you'd like?
I want to play every single chance I can get, but I'm just going to keep working hard. The manager knows that I'll give 100% every single day, whether I'm starting or not. I'll support the team from the bench. If I need to come on, if I start, I'll give everything.
Thank you very much. Well done tonight.
Cheers.
Well, he may well play on Sunday at Chelsea because Tomiyasu, we presume, will be unavailable, and Zinchenko obviously on the way back on the bench tonight, but not risked. Is that a game maybe that a year or so ago Arsenal might not have won?
Potentially, yeah. I think they're in much better form, have much better momentum. The downfall to that is that at Stamford Bridge, if they were here, I think teams are finding it really difficult to come here and get results. And we've seen that today, even when Zurich were pushing and Arsenal looked vulnerable at times, they never looked like they were going to lose the game. So it's at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea have had an extra 24 hours to recover from Champions League and go again. A much better place than Chelsea are, I would say, going into that game.
Some hamstring, and of course Kieran Tierney we think is just being assessed by the medical staff before we get a chat with him, so we'll hopefully start to get some reaction from downstairs fairly shortly. Fingers crossed he's okay. But Farah and Martin watching with me. It was a hard work night for Arsenal. Had to dig in there.
They did. I think they made it harder than they needed to at times. I think the quality in the end was the defining factor in terms of the win. But I just think at times they could have really punished this Zurich team, and I don't think they did in that final third. And we've seen Jesus, he comes deep very often in the game, and he needs runners beyond him. And I think when Martinelli plays and Saka, he gets them runners beyond. I think with Nelson and Ketia, they also want to come and get on the ball in wide areas. So they didn't have those runs beyond. They made it a little bit harder than they needed, but they got the result they needed, and that's the most important thing. And I'm sure Arteta and the team will be thinking that.
For sure. It is 8 games without a goal, Gabriel Jesus. I mean, he does plenty besides score, that's for sure. But
yeah, I do. I mean, I think he's a fantastic leader, role model at the club. He was the player. He's sort of the narrative story, really, because he's played in that centre-forward role. If you look at the rest of the team, it was sort of weakened out and stripped out because the manager wanted to rest as many players as possible. Really big game coming up against Chelsea. And mainly it was designed for him to score a goal, which he didn't do tonight, which was the disappointing thing. But I don't think we should worry too much about that. I think his movement and involvement, look, he's coming very deep in the build-up. They rely on their wide players sort of funneling into the spaces that he comes out of. And this is where he's tenacious, he holds onto the ball well. I mean, look at this for a lovely little flick there. I actually feel that is a foul on Nketiah. And this, though, was the disappointing moment. That's when I think maybe there he should be hitting it low. It didn't come off for him. I think it would have been almost a perfect night for him. And that would have actually put the game completely out of sight.
I think these are the moments, Martin, when he does come deep, as he releases that ball out, he's got to get himself into the box.
Exactly that.
Leave the edge of the box for the joining midfielders. You can already see Vieira trying to get past him to the areas that Jesus should be in, and maybe creating opportunities for others. But
no one's going to question his work rate, his commitment to the team, and actually the role I think he's a role model for the players, because it doesn't matter what game it is, he's giving 110% to the cause.
And presumably he's coming deep to the manager's instructions. That won't be off the cuff stuff, will it? That's his
No, I think
designated role, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's his game. I think he likes to get on the ball. I think he likes that. And that's why I said Martinelli and Saka in particular will stretch the play for him. So when your number 9 drops in as a false 9, so long as you've got runners in advance of you, that's okay. I think in this game, he didn't have those runners beyond him. So when he was dropping in, there was nothing in front once he'd come into those pockets. So it meant when he did drop it off, he should then be making them runs as well. So I think that's certainly a role and the reason why he's in this team is work rate in particular. I think, as you mentioned there, Martin, he leads by example. Off the ball, the way he presses, nicks the ball back, but once he sets it off, you've got to get yourself into good areas. So
at times, at least, be a bit more selfish?
Without doubt. He doesn't seem to have the most centre forwards. We talked about that, didn't we? How selfish they are. They think about themselves. He thinks about the team. But I think he'll find the right balance eventually. But he does need to start scoring goals. But Arsenal just keep winning at the moment. And it's a great result for them. It's testing their squad to the absolute limit. And now they go forward to a really important game at the weekend. And perhaps he gets his goal then, Matt.
It reminds me a little bit of Rooney, when Rooney played that street football where they like to be involved in everything. They like to show that passion, that grit, that desire on and off the ball. And he does that quite often. And, we spoke about Rooney. He was the ultimate team player.
Yeah.
And at times, people said he could have got more goals. But when he plays as that 9, he wants to show the work rate. At times we've seen him out wide. We see Jesus at City having to do that tracking back. Rooney did it often in his career. 2 team players, both fantastic players. And for me, I think what Jesus has brought here is a different discipline to what the Arsenal players had. With that winning mentality, that work rate that they needed, starting the press from the front. And he brings that to this Arsenal team.
Ironically, it looked like Nketiah looked more likely to score tonight. I mean, I thought he had a very decent game himself, and he's growing as a player. But, he didn't get that chance until Jesus came off to go down the middle. But neither one of them scored. They've both gone on an incredible run without scoring goals, and that needs to change. But as long as they keep getting the results, Matt, I don't think it's that serious a problem for the team.
FC Zurich thought they'd scored. It was offside, but it was nervy.
It was nervy at times. I think certainly as the game opened up a little bit in the second half, they created chances. I think they should have actually scored from the pass back here. He has to do better on the edge there. And then you're seeing the replay the 3 of them standing offside for Zurich. But I think the initial shot,
Arsenal lost their shape.
He should have done a lot better.
Who was good, wasn't he?
I think too easy for them to get the ball in the box. You can just see it there with Ben White. Just too easy. 3 of them offside. I think they can get themselves back on side a little bit quicker. But he has to do better with the initial shot.
But this is all about, this is a unit that's actually coming up to the ball. And that's what they do right there in that situation. That's always been I think the Arsenal defences of old have needed to do. And it's worked for them there. 1 or 2 players looked a little bit lost. They skipped past Holding a little bit too easily. And that was really concerning for the manager. But ultimately, the defence was moving forward towards the ball, which you need to do when someone's about to shoot on the edge of the box. And then they get away with it. Yes, they got away with it.
The midfielders, they get too deep with the defensive line.
Yeah.
And that's why they can't then get out to the initial shot. And obviously, as I said, the initial shot should have been better than it was. But they get away with it, Arsenal.
It was a bit basketball-y the last 10. I know they've got to go for it because they needed the win to have any chance of getting into the conference, Zurich. So that explains it to some extent. But Arsenal were attracted into a bit of a you go, we go.
I think that was just the inexperience within the team. There were 7 changes. I think just a little bit of inexperience in terms of managing the game, managing the intensity, slowing the game down a little bit, playing in moments as opposed to trying to be on the front foot all the time. I think if they managed that better, if they brought Partey on, you thought maybe could have done that. But Lokonga was still trying to do that box-to-box. Odegaard's attack-minded. So they didn't really have that balance in terms of managing the game. But they got the result, I keep saying it.
Yeah. Of course, the only goal did go Arsenal's way. And I'd say an unlikely scorer, although he does offer a threat, Kieran Tierney, off that left side.
I'm a really big fan of Kieran Tierney. We talked last year about captain material. I think he's had to show quite a lot of resolve when he's been third choice for a lot of the season. He's really not a third choice. He's come on in 10 of the 11 games this season. He's had an involvement. Most of his footballers come in this competition, and that is an outstanding finish. And that is a message. It's a message about the strength of the squad. It's also a message to the manager, isn't it, to say, well, look, don't forget me. I'm here if you need me. He may well have to play now. It's a real shame that Tomiyasu has come on and got injured. But look what's in reserve. This is an outstanding finish.
It's a great finish. What I liked about this, though, from Tierney is his initial position. When the ball's down the right-hand side, his actual defensive position infield is really good, which then allows him to be central on the edge of the box for a second phase. So actually, if you look in the build, when White was doing the overlap for Nelson's pass through, he was actually in a real good defensive position centrally, a little bit deeper. And as it started to build, you could see a great finish.
Europa League. Delighted to say that the Arsenal manager, Mikel Arteta, has been good enough to join us. Mikel, happy with another obstacle overcome?
Yeah, job done. It's never easy to win that many games in Europe. We've done it. I don't think it was the prettiest game that we've played, but we managed to win the game.
Yeah, and I guess that's another side to your team. Maybe a side that few would have seen even 6 months, a year ago?
Yes, I think we had the chances, especially early in the game and at the end of the first half, to get the game in a much comfortable position. We didn't do that. We gave them some hope and belief. We didn't control the game well enough, and in the second half, especially at the end, we were a bit leggy, I think, and we gave them 1 or 2 chances, but we managed to not concede a goal, keep the clean sheet, and win the game.
Yeah, obviously you had to make changes, and that will affect the flow of the game and create perhaps a more open game than most coaches would like.
Yeah, we have been rotating. I think we are the team that has rotated most in Europe till today, and we have to do that. First of all, because the players deserve chances and deserve minutes, and the second one, because the amount of games that we play, it's impossible to maintain the rhythm, the intensity, and players fit with this schedule.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you had to think about getting the job done here and thus avoiding the 2 games in February. One of the guests here, Martin, was already thinking a little bit about Sunday. Can you allow yourself to think about Chelsea whilst this game's happening?
We have all the games and the fixtures in our minds to try to get a very competitive team all the times and win the games, which is the most important thing. But today was really important. We know how important it's going to be, especially when other teams are playing in February. And winning helps winning. And today's atmosphere in that dressing room after being first is much better after a win than after a loss. And that's the focus of the team.
On a couple of the individuals, Gabriel Jesus does a lot for your team, but he's just looking for that goal. I think it's 8 games without a goal. Does that bother you? Does that bother him?
It does bother him for sure, and knowing him, when he scores 2, he wants to score 4. And today he had a couple of good chances as well, but what he generates to the team is just amazing. Last week he gave 3 assists. Today he was involved in a reaction again, and the goals will come.
Mikel, just wanted to say congratulations. The run you're on is quite magnificent.
Thank you,
How pleased
Martin.
were you for Kieran Tierney? Because, you know, he hasn't played, has he, as much as he wants to. He's had game involvements, we know, and he hasn't started. But his performance tonight, we've given him man of the match. We thought he was outstanding. Did that really please you?
I think he was. Yeah, I think he was really good. And Kieran, you know, he's showing a lot of maturity. You know, he has respected certain decisions that we have taken when he's played. He's played a lot of minutes as well. He's done really well today. He scored a great goal that helped us to win the game, and that's what we demand for all the players, that they are ready when the team needs them to make a difference.
Really good atmosphere amongst the players, doesn't it? When you bring someone in like that and he comes in and does so well.
Absolutely, and everybody has to be ready because we don't have the biggest squad. And everybody's important. When you see the amount of minutes that they all played, it's a lot. So they have been really important. They have been important in the Europa League. They have been important in the league, and they will continue to be so. So we need everybody involved and active, because at any moment you are needed and you have to contribute to the team.
And with that in mind, Taki Tomiyasu obviously came on and then had to go off. Do you able to update us? It doesn't look great.
We don't know. Obviously, he had some muscular issue. He had to come up. Obviously, we didn't want to take any risks, and we'll assess him in the next 48 hours and understand what's happening.
OK, we really appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much, Mikel. Well done.
Thank you very much.
We will see you in the new year.
OK, thank you.
A manager who doesn't get too up, doesn't get too down. That's a good sign too.
Really good sign. I think he gave an honest assessment, as we said, of Arsenal and their performance today. They've had a lot of games. He's had to manage players. He's even spoke about having to think about fixtures that are coming and how they can manage those players and give them enough minutes so that they can recover in time. I think his assessment was really honest.
I think he takes a lot of credit for that, because the number of changes, managing minutes for each player, you know, a relatively small squad, because, you know, Arsenal have let a lot of players go since he's been the manager. He started rebuilding, redeveloping. We're having to rest people like Martinelli tonight and Saka. Of course, you've got very big games coming up, but just doing enough to win. Still believing in the group as well, because you have to keep believing in the players that are there, giving them opportunities. People starting to take those opportunities. So, apart from the injury for Tomiyasu, I think tonight it's been a perfect night for them. Really, okay, it could have been easier. But unfortunately, I mean, look, we're hoping that it's not something serious. I think it looks like he's got a strapping on it already. I don't know if that's an undergarment. You can see the disappointment there. I think from his his demeanour, I think he realises maybe it's more than just a few days.
I mean, it might be a little bit of limping to the break here. 2 league games away, obviously Chelsea on Sunday, Brighton at home in the League Cup. So the tests keep coming pretty thick and fast.
They do, and they seem to be, taking every task and, test that comes their way and managing, as you said before the break, jumping those hurdles and coming out with the results that they need. It's difficult for managers, physios, sports scientists to manage the team so early on in the season. They're not used to this many games after a short pre-season because, we started the league a little bit earlier, a short pre-season and so many games fitted in. Having to manage that and understand it. There's been a lot of muscle injury. We've seen it throughout the Premier League. It's a lot of muscle injuries because of the amount of games.
There is no rest for the Farrell Williams and Martin Keown watching and I think more or less enjoying what you're seeing from Arsenal. It's been fits and starts and Zurich are definitely better than they were, but still enough.
Yeah, I think Zurich started really well. I think if they had a finisher up front, I think they could have caused more problems. They had a few shots early on from distance. I think after that 15-minute period when Arsenal settled and started to get midfielders on the ball and make things happen, I think they come into their own and got the goal from that.
Arsenal's third choice left back gets the goal. Is that unkind, unfair?
Tells you the strength of the squad. But in fairness, it also tells you the attitude of the player, Tierney, because to have been out for that long and watched other people play. This is a move actually down the right-hand side. Nelson, lovely weighted pass. White getting forward. We see Vieira following up there, who had a couple of chances, and this is a fantastic finish. The way that he executes this, gets his body over the ball. Again, this is the weighted pass.
Yeah, Nelson.
Fullbacks getting forward. That's the order of the day now in this Arsenal team. Lovely pullback and this. I mean, there's a lot to do when it comes to Tierney. And that is and I think when you see him celebrate as well, I think he's basically saying, don't forget me. He's been told to be patient, but he's doing his talking on the pitch tonight because I think he's been the outstanding player tonight for Arsenal.
Good technique.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful technique for the goal, the way he's got over it and kept it down. I mean, the gap he had to fit it in outside of the left foot. But between him and Keown on that left-hand side, all evening, I think they've been Arsenal's best threat down that side. The connection they have, one in, one out, been really, really good.
And actually that led to a very good chance for Fabio Vieira, doesn't it?
It does, and you can see it here where Tierney, when he collects it and he just drives in. What Nketiah does though, he keeps the width for the pitch, allows him to drive in, and then he's in a good position to drive into the box here. It's a nicely weighted pass again, and the connection's really good. Here he's just leaning away, Vieira, as he makes connection with the ball. I think he should have done better. You can just see him falling off there as he makes that connection. But again, it's come down that left-hand side. And as I mentioned, the connection there between the two of them, Tierney and Nketiah, has been really good this evening.